Hi. So this particular tweet popped up at me while I was at work, and I wanted to kind of talk a bit about it, or pretty much talk about the things that led up to that, because this is an addressment to this particular tweet that talks about this. Video game industry analyst says that there is hope in the games industry that GTA 6 could cost up to $100 so that other companies could raise their default prices as well. So the problem with this thinking is that this is something that the companies want, but this is not something that the consumers want. The consumers want to actually be able to play a game, have a game actually have some value to it and last a long time. Everyone else is worried about bean counting and numbers go up, and they're just trying to get as many people on board of a game that has a kind of a appeal that only lasts for a short period of time. A lot of the GTA games, especially the newer ones, they're milked to death from console to console. GTA 5 has been on at least 3 console generations, maybe more than that. So you want games to be $100 in the hopes that you can recoup your losses for your astronomical prices, instead of actually, maybe possibly lowering your budgets and focusing on what would actually make a decent game. But hey, according to this particular person, going back to this tweet, we're entitled because we don't want that, or we're not interested in that. We don't find any interest in that, or any enjoyment in any of those types of business procedures, whatever. We've already had games being moved up to $70 from $60, and we're told that digital games were going to be cheaper. So we've already been lied to multiple times, and now you want to push games to $100, thinking that $100 games is going to save the industry, when in reality, maybe the secret to saving the industry is lowering your expectations and actually being a bit more realistic about what you spend on that budget, and not some fat cat CEO basically getting millions of dollars in a bonus off of a bunch of bullshit. But again, gamers are entitled. So this is the tweet. Gamers are such entitled morons that they don't realize that everything they hate about modern AAA games, crunch development, day one patches, DLC, paid hat skins, mass appeal, slot points, is downstream of the fact that real unit sales prices fell 40% while devs cost 10 times. I'm guessing that's what that says. So now it is the consumer's fault because the lack of purchases has not met up with the game production or whatever, because people have gone to other things, or they've sunk into their backlogs and have decided to do other things. Now it is their fault that they're not buying these slop high-end games and all this other stuff, which also kind of is weird, because doesn't that ignore the concept of whales? Most of that is not even entitled gamers per se. It's just whales buying everything possible for a game. DLC, like costumes, skins, those are whales. Those aren't the average consumer. That's an entirely different class of consumer that exists to buy anything and everything involving that. Those are the types of consumers that are targeted by gacha games, or games that feature a lot of that type of content, like your DOA games where you buy costumes or you buy additional things for your characters. That's a different class. Now, keep in mind, the comments below this are actually kind of fun, because it shows the fact that this person is kind of out of touch with whom they're referring to. Let's get started on that. Lunar Archivist, I work in the video games industry. CEOs don't deserve tens of hundreds of millions of dollars just to do their jobs. And there's so many ways that you can save on costs. Imagine getting someone to proofread and fix your translated script before you send it off for dubbing. Yes. That's another problem. The we'll fix it in post mentality is rife in this current industry. So a lot of times, instead of actually dedicating yourself to getting everything done before it's actually completed, a lot of this stuff is half-assed. And that's actual money that's going out of the window, because instead of getting everything done, taking it to the next phase, and then getting it out there, there's a lot of people that are just okay, it's good enough. We can always patch it later and whatever. That's a quality issue. I think that's going to be the recurring theme that seems to be with a lot of these arguments is we ignore quality, we ignore like trying to make sure that the experience is as final as possible. It used to be that games, especially when they were released back in the day, because I am a gaming old head, of course, it used to be that games, when they came out, they had a final experience to where this game is a complete game. And if you wanted to add an additional thing like expansions, like PC games had expansions, they would add additional content on top of that. So where you had a game that's completely finished from start to end, and then you had like additional content thrown on the back end. Now we just cut games like, okay, we're just gonna take things out and then we're gonna bring those back in as DLC. Everything's left on the cutting room floor, and the cutting room floor items will be piecemeal back. So that's where we're at. But of course, these are things that are issues with the industry. So again, this is some line goes up thinking. It's not thinking in terms of, hey, let's actually do our best to make the best product available and then eventually add on to new things. It's just, let's make as much money as possible on this. And that thinking usually leads to games being released, it actually making a bunch of money for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then people forget about the game. Anti-social justice. Oh no, I'm gonna cry for the billion-dollar company that spent a decade shitting on their customers. And that's true. There's goodwill that was erased from a lot of these companies. A lot of these companies try to tell you what you can and can't see in your media, or try to tell you that you don't know any better because you're a stupid consumer. Again, when you start off a tweet saying the same thing that a lot of these corporations are saying, I don't think you're going to get as much goodwill. I'm supposed to feel sorry for this company and be willing to open my wallet to these people when being told that I am I'm an entitled moron. That's not going to win me over. I think you also forgot that execs take home tens of millions of dollars while buying IP, slashing and burning, and making record profits. I'm happy to pay $100 if the increased money went to the developers and can be seen in the game and not share profit holders' yachts. See, my issue is more or less that these games don't have much for value. Value can be also subjective. I personally look at these types of newer games and I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot of things that's going on in this game. There's a lot of features or whatever, but is it really going to keep my interest for that long? Because that's the thing. It's like, if I purchase something, I want it to keep my interest for as long as possible. I want to actually get the most out of this game. Now, a lot of people will play Grand Theft Auto and they will get their money's worth, just like they did with Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. But with Grand Theft Auto never really scratched my fancy like that. I mean, I do have Vice City and I do have San Andreas, but honestly, I prefer playing Scarface: The World Is Yours because I felt like I got more out of that and it was a complete package. So if something becomes too expensive and you choose not to spend your money somewhere else, then you're spoiled and entitled? No, I'm not obligated to break the bank, continue, or spend money on an industry that has seen record profits just because they threaten to fire developers. And what even is this response? You scream about entitled gamers all you want, but if game prices get too high, then the people won't buy them, and then what? You think you just nag people into spending money? That is an interesting statement, because that's a really good point. So what are we doing? Are we expecting money out of people? Just open your wallets and don't think about it. I don't think that works. So let's look at the origins of that, by the way. So I grabbed this from Tech Radar. Analyst says that there are those in the gaming industry that hope that GTA 6 will cost up to $100. It could allow other studios to raise prices. An analyst has claimed that those in the game industry who are hoping that Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost up to $100. That's according to Epilion's Matthew Ball via IGN, who recently released his State of Video Gaming in 2025 report. He said that there are some developers and publishers in the industry that hope that Take-Two will raise GTA 6's price from the current standard of $70 to between $80 and $100. Now, already this seems flawed, mainly because you've already raised it to $70 for this console generation. Changing that price quickly within the console generation when especially on the PlayStation 5 end, you have yet to give people a reason to justify those prices. It just seems really I would say dickish. Dickish is the only word that comes to mind. But it looks like you are trying to basically squeeze blood out of a turnip, or blood out of a rock, or water out of a turnip, whatever the analogy. You're trying to pull more out of a industry that's already as squeezed to the limit as possible. You're trying to play the angle of, look, this is an expensive game with all these expensive things, and to justify that, we're going to try to get as much money out of these people as possible, without understanding that people could probably get this game secondhand. People can probably just go ahead and wait for a Steam sale to get it, and they'll get it at a lower price. They're not going to always be the first responders and come in and actually get that game at that price. So you're rolling the dice on this really hardcore. Oh, there's also a segment of people that will just fucking pirate the game and say, fuck you, I'm not going to deal with this. That's another aspect that you're not considering by doing this. This just seems really half-hearted, and it's an approach that is made without fully understanding the industry that you're existing in. You're assuming that the entirety of this industry, or the entirety of the consumer base, are whales, and they'll purchase whatever, and then on top of that, buy costumes, buy like little baubles, whatever, or tchotchkes, and continue to just keep buying into things that are going on. Like I said before, whales will buy that stuff. Whales will put all their money into that stuff because they feel like they have to, or it enhances their enjoyment, whatever. Where the casual consumer will just buy the game and experience the game. If they feel like they're going to get additional things, they'll wait until the price is right, or they'll just wait until, like, say, a time like Christmas or tax time to get those things. But that's not the entirety of your consumer base. If you're going to act in this way, if you're going to assume that the consumer base is like interested in doing this, or the entirety of the consumer base is going to follow suit and buy $100 game and turn around and buy a whole bunch of extra additional DLC, you're going to find yourself screwed. Because I don't think you're going to make back your lofty budgets. Or maybe this is an interesting idea, how about we be a little bit more realistic about how our games are made? We could be realistic about how our games are made. We can cut down our budgets and actually scale back some things, try to make a coherent story, and make something that actually fits. Make a smaller game, knock it down from AAA to about AA.5, and you might actually have a bit more to work with there. But this is what happens when you have bloated budgets. You have a whole bunch of people that you have to make sure get paid, and you are scrambling to try to make ends meet as much as possible. So Ball reported that if Take-Two were to break the $70 barrier, $50 games can move up to $60, $60 can do 70, 70 to 80, etc. He says this as if people are willing to just purchase, or like games aren't luxuries. He's treating this as if gaming is an essential purchase for things like we're buying groceries or something like that. This is like a half-hearted assumption. This, at the end of the day, games are a luxury. Games are something that we buy to entertain ourselves. And the majority of us, the consumer base, already have backlogs. And it's like it was stated in that original tweet. People can turn around and just go into their backlogs and be fine. There's plenty of games that they have just sitting around that they might have purchased and haven't even got to yet, because the moment they were focusing on the new game, the new hotness, whatever, they were knee deep in another game, and they were like, oh, this looks nice, I want to get this, and I'll play this after I finish this. And then they get bogged down by buying a whole bunch of other things. So the assumption here is that people are going to just open their hearts and their wallets and just buy whatever the fuck that you put out in front of them. And I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's hot in the streets. So AAA video game prices are already quite pricey nowadays, but the analyst says that a $70 GTA 6 would be the cheapest and Grand Theft Auto game ever released. So we're banking on the name, even though we don't know we don't know very much about this game. Shit, we just got a Grand Theft Auto collection that was just put out in the most shoddiest, crappiest state possible, and modders had to come in and actually fix it before the company actually turned around and made those adjustments. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a great idea. So packaged game prices have never been lower in real terms than they are today, even though budgets are at all-time highs and player growth is stalled. Ball explained. GTA 6 could reestablish packed video game prices after decades of deflation despite rampant cost growth. Again, we're only focusing about number goes up, and we're not looking at the aspects as to why those player numbers are going down, or the budget or people purchasing these games is going down. We're not looking at it like that. We're looking at, oh, if we raise the prices, people will come back in droves. The movie industry tried that, and see how it's doing right now. So following the publishing of the report, Michael Dowse, publishing director at Larian Studios, responded by saying, "You're not supposed to say that out loud. A good company raises salaries in line with inflation so that their staff doesn't die or something, but game prices haven't risen with inflation," Dowse added. Well, I mean, the reason why game prices don't rise with inflation is because games are a luxury, and if I'm going to choose between food, housing, or gaming, I'm going to have to make the serious choice of the first two instead of the latter. At the end of the day, I have to take care of myself. Playing video games is nice and all, but having a roof over my head and having food on the table is much more important. That's how I feel about the subject. But hey, that's why this whole thing just kind of seems like a bad idea. If you price yourselves out of the consumer base, then you have nobody to blame but yourselves if that results in you hurting your bottom line and actually hurting your company. You have to really think about these things. You gotta put your you gotta use your noodles, so to speak. So this isn't the reason why the game industry is in the shit for now, but it's uncomfortable truth. On the other hand, the responsibility for a game developer is to make sure that the game that they show lives up to that promise and that investment from the player. Because video games are an investment. If I'm investing my time, I'm investing my money, and I'm investing my interest in it. Especially if somebody actually, like myself, if I promote something or whatever, and it turns out to be shit, my credibility's on the line. Especially when it comes to video games. Like, there's a lot of video games I've put my full interest in, and I was like, hey, we should probably check this out. Only for me to play the demo, I was like, yeah, this wasn't that great. So, he's right, it's an investment. So regardless of the price point, GTA 6, which is expected to launch in 2025, is predicted to hit a total revenue of $3.2 billion, we'll see, in its first 12 months, which is around double of what GTA 5 achieved in that same amount of time. That's only a projected revenue. You're gonna have people that are diehard GTA fans that are going to buy this, whether it's a good game or not. They're gonna day one buy it. That's fine. But the long-term people that are sitting there watching to see if it's good or not are going to be the ones that determine whether you make back what you put into the game, or you break even or whatever. So that's the thing. And then you have these weirdos that are online telling you that you're entitled because you're not wanting to spend $100 on a game. and these people, personally, I feel like these are paid shills. These are the types of people that are trying to get you to agree with everything or whatever. And maybe it's like a guy defending a female. And if that female is like in the wrong, and if that female's in the wrong, you got a whole bunch of people that are just gonna sit there and defend her with their dying breath because they have to protect my lady's honor. And in this instance, the milady is the game, and this person is just going hard in the paint, trying to shame us into spending $100 on a game we don't know is going to be decent or not. And I don't get down like that. Sorry, it's my money, and I can use it however the fuck I feel. So while it stays open, while it stays closed, that's how that works. But anyways, I'm out of here. Thank you for joining me for this. See you next boss fight. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.